Hey guys, if you know me as a person, if you know me on here, if you've been watching for a long time, you'd probably know that I'm not the biggest fan of UKIP. I mean, I agree with some of the stuff that Nigel Farage says, and I agree with some of his character, but the whole point is UKIP is really starting to get scary for me because they're a party that really has a lot of support if you just want to do a quick YouTube search of the people, and really a lot of people seem to be taking them really seriously. I don't think this is right because I don't think any politician should really be taken seriously in the first place. Now this might come as a bit of a shock to some of you who might disagree with UKIP, but I don't actually blame the supporters of UKIP or the sympathisers or the voters of UKIP for actually the party growing in power. Now the main people that I blame for UKIP's rise is actually those who oppose them. Because UKIP's policies, for the most part, most of them are very easy to debunk, especially one of their main ones, which is immigration. I'll get to that in a minute. But the main argument against UKIP that I always seem to hear, whether it's on the internet, whether it's on the news, goes along something like this. They're just a bunch of racist poo-poo heads. I mean, that's not an argument. Saying that someone is stupid or saying that someone is annoying is not an argument to counter another argument. It's just ad hominem. So when people who might be confused about whoever they want to vote for, who are really disillusioned with politics, like I was, they might see this argument going to and fro and seeing an actual clear, argued, probably not true, but clear positioned argument on one side, and seeing on the other side this really ad hominem, just fancy pants attack. Who are they going to look at? Who do they think is going to have more integrity? The one who has the argument or the one who has the ad hoc? They're going to look for the one who has the argument. And so this lack of argumentation between both sides, just this load of mudslinging from the left, because it's mainly the left, is making UKIP more powerful. I have a serious hunch, I'm not conspiracy theorist, but I have a serious hunch that maybe BBC is sort of actually trying to make UKIP more popular because, by putting Nigel Farage on Question Time every other month. So, yeah, it makes me think a little bit, it really does. I would just love for once for someone on the left to actually say, rather than calling UKIP a load of names, to actually go up to them without looking all domineering and intimidating towards them and actually say, most economists on the left and the right all agree that immigrants are not a drag on the economy, they don't take jobs, they actually create them because they add to the demand of the country, and they aren't a depressing of wages because they actually push wages up over time, they progress things, just as anybody in a country getting a job, progressing the workforce would make a change in the economy. I'd love to hear somebody say that, but it's not. It's always, I bloody well hate them, they're a load of racist old little Englanders. It's not getting you anywhere. You're not going to defeat UKIP by just saying, no, don't vote for them because they're bad people and blah blah. No, that's not going to work. Now to my main gripe about UKIP. When I went and told these arguments to a load of UKIP supporters, well not many but some, basically the argument that I seemed to get back was one of the argument to tradition, the argument to nationality, to heritage, as it were. And I just find it so ridiculous. I mean, look, here it is right here. Grow up and start being grateful to live in a country that proved thousands of years of bloodshed and hard work has allowed you to be a faceless cretin voicing nonsense using a phone or keyboard. What exactly are you, Dave? You're nothing more than a very sad, childlike, uneducated traitor to me. What are you, Dave? Tell me. Well, I'll tell you what I am. I'm not somebody who believes that because I live in a certain square area, that therefore I am entitled or I am indebted to agree with everything that happened in the past, to agree with where I traditionally came from. I mean, if you lived in Iran, okay, this argument could just as well be given. Okay, somebody could say, you live in Iran, you should respect your culture, respect your heritage. Okay, thousands of people died trying to save you from the infidels of the West. You should be grateful, you should be proud of your country. I mean, you would never agree with that. So why would you agree with it for Britain? Oh yeah, because we won the war, because we fought against the Nazis. Fuck off! Just because you scored a few points does not make you the beholder of goodwill. Nobody can tell you what to think or feel. So if you live in a country which you most probably did not ask to be born into, you're not registered by anyone else to move to a different country so long as you're not hurting anyone. It's ridiculous to say that, well, this square space of people, we believe this, and if you don't believe it, you're a traitor. And no, this doesn't suddenly make me into a social justice warrior or a lefty liberal. I hate both of those kind of people, or a progressive. I don't like any of them. Okay, I just hate this idea that if you live in this area that you have to move out of it if you don't agree to a set certain amount of values that change from year to year to year. It's just poppycock. Now, if you think that I'm only against UKIP, then that's not true. I do actually agree with UKIP on one main policy, which is that they are against the EU. I'm against all forms of government and overhead top-down orders, so likewise I'm against UKIP on that main policy. However, the ironic thing is that the EU guarantees immigration. You can go from country to country. So, ironically, the EU is more libertarian on immigration than UKIP. I know a lot of libertarians and liberty-minded people who tend to vote for UKIP because they say that they are the most libertarian party out there, you know, they're going towards a good future and so on. But the thing that I would say to that, to anyone who does vote for UKIP, is simply, there's nothing libertarian about saying, well, I agree with all of these freedoms, you know, freedom of speech, freedom of association, freedom to bear arms, freedom of markets, but when it comes to freedom of movement, when it comes to people, you know, moving about the place and living in certain areas and working in certain areas, no, we need to have strict controls on that. I mean, even Ron Paul, you know, one of the most popular libertarian people out there, most anti-government politician I think I know in the entire world, even he has actually said, I think we need some controls on immigration, and that's really sad. Now, as a libertarian, when I argue against UKIP, what people tend to say is, well, why are you arguing against UKIP? I mean, why don't you argue against, you know, the Conservatives or the Labour or Lib Dems or the Greens? Why is it that you argue so consistently against the most libertarian party in the UK? Well, the reason because of that is basically this. When I go and say, I don't know, Conservatives or Ed Miliband or Nick Clegg, what's your first reaction? That they're douchebags, that they're pigs, you know. Who fucking cares about them? Now, when I mention Nigel Farage or UKIP, what do you normally think about that? Yeah, he's a cool guy. I could go to the pub with him. You know, I think they got some good policies. They're libertarians. The reason that I bother about UKIP is because they're not getting as much criticism, genuine criticism, not, you know, ad hominems, as the rest of the other parties in the UK. So there's a very true reason why I disagree with UKIP and why I urge people, if you can, to get some genuine criticism against them. UKIP are not going to be this super fixed party. That's another thing. UKIP is tended to have this mantra that they are the party that's going to come in and fix everything. And I'm not comparing them to the Nazis, I'm not going to break Godwin's law here, but what people need to sort of understand is that political parties very, very rarely tend to change the actual feeling and emotions of people, of the populace. I mean, do you think that such dictatorial regimes managed to get into power peacefully because nobody else agreed with them? No, somebody had to agree with Hitler, with Stalin, whatever, in order for them to get into power. If any politician wants to get into power, they need to seize at least 51% of the vote, which means that all political parties eventually have to go for the middleman. They have to go for that extra 1%. And this is the difference between organisations and political parties. When an organisation or a person wants you to join with them, normally they're the ones that convert you. They're the ones that say, these are the reasons why what we do, we want you to come to us. With a political party, on the other hand, they got a bit of that, but for the most part, they're not interested in you, being converted, being part of them. What they want is your vote. That's what matters to them, and they want it ASAP. Which means that eventually, no matter what, political parties are going to have to become mainstream. They are going to have to become politically correct. You can see it with what UKIP's been doing already, kicking out people in their party who they deem to be too radical or too controversial. changing some of their policies because people won't agree with them as much, because now they're becoming a lot more popular. They have to change and alter their policies. They started off really radical and really fringe, as every single party in history does. But then, as they get more and more popular, they have to change their policies. They have to change their image. If you are a Libertarian and you're still going to vote for UKIP, there's not really much I can do. But what I will say is just think about this. Think of the people who have really genuinely changed things in our time, who have changed society as a whole. It hasn't really been politicians most of the time. Most of the time it's been people who decided, I'm not going to agree with that. We're not going to agree with that. We're not going to have people telling us that these things are moral, that these things are right. It hasn't been through the ballot box, it's been through people. Genuine people who are going to say that I'm not going to agree with all these orders that I'm being told to do. So that's all I'm saying. It's not through the ballot box anymore, it's through the cloud. If you want people to really change, if you want society to be freer, don't vote for a party that will give you a little bit more freedom and destroy a load of other freedoms that you have. You know, actually go out there and tell yourself, no, I'm not going to agree with all these stupid laws.